This is the 2021 resource paper 2, question 14. It comes in two parts, and the crux of it is that you have a blade on a workbench, and we're given the formula h equals 57 minus 85 cosine of x. That's the formula for the height in millimeters, where x is the angle the blade has turned anti-clockwise from a starting position. There's a lot of information, so I'll let you pause the video and have a look at it. This question, especially under time constraints, will put a lot of pupils under pressure. But if you're doing this question in your study time, it's maybe not too bad because you have time, you're at ease. But let's take a look at it. So the value of x when t is at a height of 115 millimeters above the bench. But the formula is for h, and we're told that as the blade rotates, h is the height of point T above the workbench. But if the height is 115 millimeters above the workbench, then h equals 115. So h must equal 115 millimeters. But if h equals 57 minus 85 cos x, what we want to do is we want to equate both of them and solve to find x, because the question asks us to find the value of x. So we can equate those and make this 115, and we're going to get cos x on its own. The first thing we can do is take away 57 from both sides. So if you take away the 57 from both sides, you will get 58 on the right hand side. Be really careful with your positive and negative signs. It's a negative 85 on here, so we're going to divide both sides by minus 85, and watch, because we're dividing minus 85 by minus 85, it's just going to be 1 on the left hand side, so it's just 1 times the cosine of x, or cosine of x. But we're dividing 58 by minus 85, so that's going to be minus 58 over 85, because it's a positive dividing by a negative just gives us a negative. The next thing we want to do is we want to find the inverse cosine of the positive value. So regardless of if you get a positive or a negative value and you want to solve an equation of the form cosine x equals something, what you want to do is take the positive value. If it's a positive value you get on this side, you just find the inverse cosine. But if it's a negative, you take the positive. In this case, we want to find the inverse cosine of 58 over 85. 85. And you want to make sure that the calculator is on degrees and not radians, because this will cost you at least 1 mark per paper. And to find the inverse cosine, it will either say INV cos or cos minus 1. On my calculator, it says cos minus 1, but it will depend on the calculator. So make sure you get used to the calculator that you're going to use in the exam. I know in my school, if you forgot a calculator, you maybe would get a detention after a few instances for lack of equipment, but besides that, you would get given one by the teacher. Make sure to take your calculator into all maths lessons. A, because you don't want a detention, but B, to make sure you get used to using the same calculator. And back to this, we get the value of 46.972. But what we need to do is we need to use what's called a cast diagram. C-A-S-T, cast. Alternatively, you might have heard of all sinners take care. So either cast or all sinners take care. Now the idea is that the cosine is negative. So the cosine is positive in this quadrant and in this quadrant, and is negative in this and this. The first quadrant is just the angle. The second quadrant is 180 minus the angle. We'll put this symbol for the angle. 180 minus the angle. Tan is 180 plus, and the other quadrant is 360 minus the angle. And the angle we found is 46.972. In this quadrant, the first one, sine, cosine and tan are positive. In this quadrant, the S quadrant, only the sine is positive. The cosine and the tan are negative. In the bottom left, the T, the tan is positive. The sine and the cosine are negative. And the bottom right, the cosine is positive. The sine and the tan are negative. So the two values are going to be given by 180 minus the angle and 180 plus the angle. Reason is because the cosine of x is negative. So we have x equals 180 minus 46.972 or 180 plus 46.972. And if we do them on the calculator, we get, the first answer we get is 133.028, or we get 226.972. 0.972. But the question asks us to calculate the value of x when t is first at a height of 115 millimeters. So when it's first at the height. Now, it's moving anti-clockwise. So the greater the value of x, the longer it's turned. So the smallest value of x will be the first time that it reaches that height. So we say that it first reaches 115 millimeters at x equals 133.028 is the value of x. We don't have to put the angle sign because the angle sign is already there, and I'm going to do this to 1 decimal place. 1 decimal place. X equals 133.0. And that's us done the first section. Second section, I'll give you a second to look at it, is to calculate the value of x when t is next at that height. Well, that's just going to be the next value because it reaches the height 115 millimeters at 2 times. But when x is 226.972, it also has to be at that height. So we just have to say 226.972 to 1 decimal place x equals 227.0 and underline this one. So that's us done. This question, now let's have a look at the marking. As I've said, they don't give you many instructions, but the first mark would be for the equation for equating 115 to the formula given in the exam. Calculating the cosine of x, getting this value, and the first angle or the first value of x is there, and the second value gets you the second mark. So I hope you found this useful, and best of luck with the studying. Thank you for watching.